Spewing flames that scorch the earth, the ultimate of all kaiju. Welcome back once again to Entertainment Rebooted and a new series of cinema revisited, Godzilla. That's right. We are going to be watching all of the Godzilla movies from 1954 all the way to literally this year, 2024.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. Things are kind of different. This series we are doing with Pat. So Pat, 1954's Godzilla. Let's do a recap, then good, bad, ugly, iconic, and then let's talk about what we would do if we had to make this movie in modern times. So Pat, without further ado, the synopsis, if you would.
Open Tokyo waters. But something's not right. A ship, sailors on it. The water's rising. It's glowing. They're going down. Cue the rescue ship. Panic. People don't know what's happening. We don't know who's surviving. We don't know why. Ship goes down. They start to try to research. They wonder. They give him a name. Godzilla. This film focuses on his sudden arrival and his destruction. They're heavy, heavy themes that are hit upon in this movie. He runs rampant in Tokyo. He runs rampant throughout most of Japan. They try everything they can. They try depth charges, electric fences, machine guns, planes, tanks. They even hit him with a train. But Godzilla still stands. And his atomic breath is taking its toll. We're given hope. A weapon. A weapon more powerful than an H-bomb. A creator who does not want to use it. Conflict among friends. With an eventual resolution. The creator passes away, saving Tokyo from Godzilla.
Excellent. Very good recap. Nicely done. So, without further ado, though, Pat, in your opinion, what is the good of Godzilla 1954? There is so much good about this film.
Yeah, so much good.
Yeah, not quite iconic, but what in your opinion is good about this movie?
There's pretty magnificent use of practical effects and modeling.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple scenes of modeling, scaling into into full scale life, like near flawlessly.
Mm-hmm.
It's got really magnificent practical effects throughout most of it.
That's true. Like, some of the modeling can be a little cheesy, but at the same time, for 1954,
oh yeah,
a lot of this stuff though is really well done, and they're very conscious about like the strings and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So the modeling is top notch. We were talking about that the whole movie.
Oh yeah, so many, like multiple times. You know, that's another thing we gotta think about, because with our current era of movies, there's a lot less. There's still practical effects, but there's a lot more CGI special effects being tapered into this.
Yeah.
In our like current audience's eyes, we see that, like, we're able to, like, we're so used to like seeing the special effects and the practical effects, like we're able to like catch it.
Well, yeah, we kind of catch ourselves like looking for the string.
Yeah.
Essentially. So yeah, like, we're paying attention more to it instead of just like taking in the spectacle. For 1954 though, this had to be like,
this was like cutting edge back
Yeah.
then. Like, I mean, it's still very like it was way ahead of its time.
oh yeah, definitely. No, like that's definitely good. Personally, I would also add a good for me is actually like the soundtrack.
Oh, magnificent soundtrack.
Like, not only just like the themes and stuff like that, obviously, you know,
Yeah.
they have the themes that carry over, but
Yeah.
the biggest emotional moments
Oh.
in the movie literally hit with the choir.
Yeah.
And it's just in the background, and then
Yeah.
they put it right in your face.
And it, like, I got goosebumps.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it didn't seem fake. Like, there was such emotion carried in it that it didn't seem like it was acting.
And yeah, it felt really real, and it was subtle enough and it was emotional enough that while you're taking in the devastation, while you're
Yeah.
taking in even the spectacle
Oh, yeah.
of the girls' choir, like all of them are uniformed,
Yeah.
sitting together, they're standing
Yeah.
together, like in this like
Yeah.
uniform block.
Yeah.
Powerful. But the score bits, all of the stuff that has to do musically, I think was very, very good. Very well done.
Okay. And while we're on the subject of sound and audio, his roar that they gave him,
Yeah.
truthfully, it's near iconic.
It actually is, I think, like pretty iconic.
Yeah, like-
because it's the same roar even today. Like they could
Yeah.
not change it because of how good it is. So I think that leans more into the iconic.
You know, I brought it up a bit earlier. It's so good.
It's so good. Like, but you know, it's the sound, like sound design and stuff like
Yeah.
that is really good. Let's move then to the bad. Okay, not quite like ugly, but bad.
There's a bit of choppiness. There's a few different takes where their cutting isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
A few of the face shots of Godzilla, like
Some of the face shots of Godzilla. Like literally you can't help but laugh because
Yeah,
literally
like-
it'll be like he's in the middle of destroying things and then he looks down camera like
And you're just
unintentionally,
like,
but his eyes are like doing this. So it literally looks like what do we say? What did I say that it looked like? It looked
holding
like
shots.
yeah, he was fighting the trots and
Yeah.
it just lost.
Yeah, like,
It literally was like
and then it's just a few of those like it. They came in right at the scene like where there's a lot of tension going in, and then all of a sudden just
yeah, because it just snaps to him and it's like, and we're literally just watching it and like it's super serious.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting into it and then we just crack out laughing. So I agree. That was pretty bad. Let's see. I would say that like yeah, the choppiness
yeah,
I think was really bad in it. Like it didn't really derail the movie, but there are a lot of shots where literally it's like they didn't cut the film quite right. So
Yeah.
somebody is standing up and they go from like here to like fully standing.
yeah,
Or it just chops very quickly to another shot
yeah.
and it feels kind of janky at times. So I agree. I think the cutting could have used a little bit more polishing, but you know, 1954.
Yeah.
They're probably dealing with actual physical
Film.
film. So we are very blessed in this digital age.
Yes, very, very blessed.
So, all right, how about ugly? What's ugly about this film? That you're just like, if you were trying to sell this movie to somebody to watch, that you would just give them kind of a heads up.
You know, some people would probably find this ugly. I didn't find it super ugly for what this film is.
Right.
There's not a lot on the human character. Like, most of the humans in this, while they are individual characters, it's more like a general, like, humanity, like, human sentient being.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the, like, character design and the focus is on Godzilla. Like, there are characters that have names, and there's maybe 3 I can tell you.
That's true. And the other thing is that they don't really reveal the names of the characters or focus on them enough until probably about halfway through the film.
Yeah, like...
And that's when you really start catching on.
Yeah, like, you're very
who
much
they're
just, like,
talking
on,
about.
like, these characters are existing, and, like, you're going deep into it, and there's like, wait, what are their names?
Yeah. Or they mention somebody by name and you haven't really seen them a lot. So for a while we had
Shirozori?
Shirazawa.
Yeah, Shirazawa.
Yeah, Shirazawa. We thought that Shirazawa was the main love interest, not the scientist.
Yeah.
And so they are referring to him, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, the son-in-law Shirazawa," and we're like, "Oh okay, so the Coast Guard dude."
Yeah, the Coast Guard guy who's
Yeah,
also a scientist, who's also, I think they said he was part of the shipping company.
yeah, he was like head of the shipping company, and he had a position in the Coast Guard or the Navy, the Defense Forces, and
Yeah,
then he's also a scientist. Like, so that's what we thought
Yeah.
they were referring to, and we're like, man, he does everything.
Yeah, like he's a
But-
man of many hats.
Yeah, but who's this dude with the
Eye patch.
And it's like, no. Dude with eye patch is like
Yeah.
betrothed to love interest,
Yeah.
but are not love interest no more.
Yeah. Well, like she said, she already saw him as a big brother.
Yeah. So I think I do agree with you on that. Like, ugly, it is kind of jarring at first trying to figure out who the characters are, like the human characters.
Yeah, if like you're going into this and like you're wanting like the interaction of your like mental interaction with the characters, like putting yourself there with them, like you're not gonna be like, oh, what's your name again? Like every time, like you feel like it feels like eventually you should, well, pretty shortly you should be able to just like recognize who they are.
Right. And it takes probably about half of the film in order to get like the two main characters, and then even then sometimes they'll refer to somebody. Like they refer to somebody by their first name, and then you're like,
Yeah,
okay, who?
which
who
is
that?
could also just be a bit of like a cultural thing.
It could be a cultural thing. Like there's a lot in this film, I think, that does show the stark difference between like American culture and Japanese culture, especially in like the 1950s.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I tend to agree with you though. Like when it comes to developing the human character, sometimes it gets a little confusing.
yeah, like
And the main scientist, so there's like two big things. I think the science is great in it, but then it's like not great at the same time.
It's a very like tricky middle ground that they're playing with, because you don't want to put too solid of science in the film that Godzilla can't exist.
Yeah. Well, but what I mean though is like the main scientist creates the device, obviously, that's going to kill Godzilla, the oxygen destroyer. But he continues to work on this and develop this, and he's like, I want to find a new use for it. And it's like, you created a death device that has no other use other than being a death device that he's developed to perfection. What is he what actually could you use a death device for in a humane way?
You know, I was actually kind of thinking about that.
Yeah.
And he'd probably almost use it for food preservation.
But it melted everything. Like it dissolves everything. So
well, like that's only if it comes into contact with it. Like if it's in a sealed container.
Like maybe like destroy the oxygen. It liquefies the oxygen. This is what I mean. It kind of ugly is the fact that like the science and the scientist
but
characters,
like it's very conflicting with itself.
Yeah. And then also the paleontologist dad character kind of feels a little thrown in, because it's like we want to make him like a dinosaur, but not really a dinosaur.
Yeah, like
so his curiosity about Godzilla doesn't make sense, because he's like, oh, we should study him. We should do all these different things.
We should study him for his resistance to radiation.
Yeah, and it's like, it makes sense, but at the same time, he doesn't really do anything with it.
Yeah.
He's a character that has a voice, and he makes like the main moral message.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really fit into the story super duper well.
He's more plot point. He's more plot point / tool.
Yeah, he's a
driving force.
He's like part driving force, but mainly he's the deliverer of the moral message.
Yeah.
And he feels very thrown in. So I'd say ugly is just character work. Yeah, it's pretty ugly. How about iconic? There's a lot that could be iconic about this movie. But what do you think, Pat? What's the big iconic thing for you?
All right, I'll bring it back. We talked about it. We touched about it, and I brought it up too early, but the roar.
The roar.
The roar, the Godzilla stomp. Mm-hmm. Like those first scenes where they show his foot going across the models. Like we said, those were magnificent models.
Yeah.
Like that actual like crushing of his foot stomping on it. It like just, it really makes you like take into perspective of how small you'd be in comparison to this creature.
Oh yeah, and how absolutely terrifying it would be.
Oh yeah.
like 135-foot tall, giant,
Yeah.
radioactive lizard, essentially. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
and speaking of radioactive, his breath.
I actually really liked how they did the breath, like where it's kind of hazy
Yeah.
and it hits stuff, and then when it hits stuff, that's when it ignites. It doesn't immediately
Yeah, like
blow up. It's not a laser. It's
yeah,
a
it's not a he's not firing a laser. He's literally
breathing
it's a
radiation.
concentrated blast of radiation
Yeah,
at such a high dosage that I mean it was melting the steel of the
yeah,
towers, like setting anything flammable on fire.
yeah. No, I think that's definitely iconic. I would say just in general, the entire movie in and of itself is iconic. That
Yeah.
feels like a cop out.
It
But what I mean is, like, from hitting play
yeah.
to the very end, I was hooked.
Oh yeah.
And the movie starts, the credits, like when it opens up the credits, the first thing you hear
Is that roar.
well, yeah, you hear the stomps though. And it's just like the timpani bass drums, but it's like you just hear it and you kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And then it says Godzilla with the roar.
Yeah.
And it's a black screen other than white text. And it is magnificent.
Oh yeah.
That's how it starts. It just starts so
Yeah.
well. And then the end, like you're sitting there just awestruck.
Oh yeah, their ending is on the boat sailing away with the final salute and then just back over the open waters of Tokyo
Yeah.
with the sun setting.
And you're just in, like the music kind of sweeps you away.
Oh yeah.
The ending, how the story ends with the scientist sacrificing himself so that nobody can recreate his device. Tokyo is safe for now, but we're left with the haunting message of Godzilla is not the last of his kind. If we continue nuclear testing, we can only expect another to appear. And you're left with that haunting, like,
Oh yeah.
it is powerful. Like I said, this entire movie is captivating.
Yeah.
I would just, like, it feels like a cop-out, but at the same time, the movie in and of itself is just...
There's a reason that the cop out exists though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there's a reason tropes exist. There's a reason cop out exists.
Yeah. And this one just, it's really deserving of it, though. Like,
Oh yeah.
I was thinking, like, I have never seen any of the Godzilla films outside of anything before 1998.
The only Godzilla that I've actually fully seen is the one we did on Curb Stomp.
Yeah, 1998.
Yeah, 1998. That's like the only one I've seen. Like I've seen maybe like clips or like seen allusions to like the other films, but like
Oh. Well, we're going to have a lot of fun on this
oh yeah,
series.
this is a new road and I am ready to travel.
I'm surprised, though. Like, you seem the type, man, that would really like Godzilla. Like, these films are...
I am
Yeah.
like a kaiju person. I like the creature films, but I'm also just like I'm very much like whatever film is like getting advertised the most at the moment. Like I'm just like, oh, is that worth watching? Or like, you know,
Yeah. It makes sense. But, oh, yeah.
it's hard to like step back sometimes and like revisit.
Good plug.
What?
Master of marketing, Pat.
Hey.
Speaking of being a master at marketing, let's say that Toho comes over to you and they're saying, we have an idea for a kaiju movie about a ancient creature by the name of Godzilla, and he comes into Tokyo Bay and causes mayhem and destruction. How would you handle this movie with a similar plot? And you can change it however you want, but let's say that they tell you you need to make Godzilla 1954 modern audience. How do you do that, Pat?
There's very little like plot wise that I actually changed in this. Like it's a strong, solid plot. Most of the changes like I'm feeling are gonna be kind of technological advancements
Well,
at the
obviously. Yeah.
time. I still would actually hold true to most of the practical effects. Like there's a lot like the practical effects really bring a heart to this film.
Yeah. It feels real.
Yeah.
Like the thing is that like subconsciously, like mentally, when we see something that's a practical effect, even if it's a little bit off-putting,
Yeah, like the
it
helicopter.
feels more impactful.
Yeah.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. Like the helicopter that was slightly too light, but like still that helicopter getting like blown away. It just you're like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Maybe clean up the human characters a bit.
Yeah.
Make it so that they're a bit more easier to like who they are, more established. Like you establish them a bit, and then you have Godzilla start to show up. It gives you a bit more heart with the film, a bit more like to care with,
Yeah.
but truly not a lot that I would change. Like it,
It's a solid film.
it really it stands time.
Yeah. It does. I agree with you though. Like obviously, technological
Yeah.
advances and stuff like that. If you're making it, you're probably going to want Godzilla to be a bit more
Clean up the appearance.
clean up the appearance, make him a little bit more terrifying looking, but I think a lot of the stuff you can kind of keep the way that it is. Like I said, I really like the fact that the atomic breath was just breath. And you're just like, you barely see it too. Like that's the thing. You barely see it, but you see it enough that when something just catches fire, you're like, oh dang, he radiated that thing to like nothing.
Yeah, no, like they're not. It's tastefully used.
Yeah.
It's not like oh look at this.
Right. Yeah.
It's like and then just like, oh, that's too far away.
Yeah, and then it just hits and then it catches fire, and you're like,
Oh, yeah,
yeah. So I agree with you too. Cleaning up the characters a little bit, maybe establishing them a little bit more.
Yeah.
It would be nice to understand their dynamic better.
yeah. There's a lot that you're just thrown into, like, oh, this is her fiance. Wait, because like you meet him and like it seems like they're dating already.
Well, yeah, and they're very close, and they spend a lot of time together. It's really
Yeah.
clear who the romantic leads in the film are.
Yeah.
But then when they introduce, like, oh, the future son-in-law, and it's this random scientist dude, you're like,
The only other time the only time they saw him is, I'm surprised Shirazawa came to see us off. He's usually spending most of the time in the research lab.
right. Like, that's the only time that you see him.
Yeah, like, I mean, we both took immediate notice of him because he is a man with an eye patch wearing sunglasses over the eye patch.
He just drips anime main character vibes.
He is.
He's and straight up, I was like, either he's the main antagonist or he's the main character.
Oh yeah, like you were just like right away, just like,
Yeah,
that is a main character for an anime right there.
100%. He wakes up to his intro music.
Oh yeah.
So I think though that it's just you got to clean it up a little bit, establish the human characters a bit more, have a little bit more heart put into like caring about what the characters are getting up to.
Yeah, like what's going to happen to him. Like there's the scene on the tower with the reporters.
Yeah.
And it's almost kind of comedic.
It gets kind of comedic because the man is literally like, he is so dedicated to doing a good job
That he's reporting his own death.
He reports his own death, but the last thing he says is literally farewell.
Yeah.
It's just, it's kind of goofy.
But also, like, that would be, like, such a powerful line, though. Like, if maybe it wasn't just some random reporter, like, because there's that main reporter that kind of, like,
That's true.
they used to hop around.
Yeah, maybe he gets onto the camera and he's doing his job and
Yeah.
he does say farewell, but it's more of a thing of, like, maybe they're purposely trying to distract Godzilla.
Yeah, like...
Or, like, there's a lot that you could do with that to make it more impactful. Even if it is just a thing of like, okay, they're doing it on accident. If they're doing it on accident, have them be way more terrifying.
Oh yeah, like they're just like, oh, he's coming over here. We don't know if we're going to survive. There's no time to run.
Yeah, like, and none of them really kind of scream until he already tips over
like,
the tower.
Like
So
he's grabbing the tower with such strength. Like you could definitely still have that line in there, but like with a more, he has a hold of the tower, and it's crumbling under his immense strength.
Yeah. And it could be a thing of like the language barrier.
That is definitely a possibility there.
It could be partly that, but it is interesting though that he's literally like, he has his final line and he doesn't scream or anything after his final line. He just is like, I guess this is the end of my recording career. Farewell. And he's gone. So I would change that a little bit with the news casters and stuff like that. Actually, Godzilla -1 did that really well. They have a scene with like news reporters and stuff like that. It actually works really well. Most of this film you see in -1 when we get there in like 4 years.
Alrighty.
So anyway, but yeah, I would change some stuff up. I'd probably have more graphics and stuff, make it more terrifying. I'd really lean into the mysterious nature of Godzilla and the sheer like terrifying image of this giant monster.
They do still kind of play it nicely though. Like they show us him at the beginning, but like it's a very quick glance, but there's still just so much mystery around him. Like,
oh yeah, like you see him, like if you're not paying attention, you don't actually see him walking down the road.
Oh yeah.
Like you don't really notice it because you're like, oh, it's kind of like, that's a really cool model kind of thing. And you're paying attention to things and he barely is in the background walking down. Yeah. They keep him pretty well hidden until
like you're getting bits and pieces of him and it kind of helps build him up.
Yeah. So anyway, though, like, yeah, there's not a lot that you need to change in order to make this
really. There's not
for a good audience, a good audience, modern audience. So anyway, guys, that is Godzilla 1954. We gave you guys a quick recap, gave you the good, the bad, the ugly, the iconic, and then gave like roughly some ideas that we would throw out to modernize the film for a new audience. Just quick plug here. We are not sponsored, but we do like to let you know about the different box sets or DVDs and stuff like that that we watch here so that you can follow along with us. We got this super cool box set. It is Godzilla, the Showa era films, 1954 to 1975.
Mini Godzilla not included.
Yeah, Mini Godzilla not included. But yeah, so this box set, if you guys want it, once again, the Showa era films, 1954, 1975. You can find it on Amazon. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video. We hope that you enjoyed it. We are looking forward to this new series where we're going to watch all of the Godzilla films. So if that interests you, be sure to subscribe. We will be trying to drop these once a month once we get our recording things put together well. Otherwise, be sure to like the video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about Godzilla 1954 or Godzilla in general, the king of the monsters? And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and share us with your friends. Otherwise, we will see you guys in the next video.
Thanks for stopping by.